Picture and tell people we need to talk about things.
Yes, that's right.
Amen. Come on. Thank you for doing this.
I've worked here for 12 years. Intermediate break. Rick, the wrong side. Oh, you're doing white. I was going to say the wrong side.
Broadcasting too.
All right, excellent. Good morning, everyone. I'm Louis Vetter, President of the Conservation Society of San Antonio. I'm here to announce that the Conservation Society of San Antonio has filed a lawsuit in district court to halt the demolition of the 1968 Texas Pavilion in Hemisphere, formerly the site of the Institute of Texan Cultures. The suit states that the demolition violates the original 1967 deed that transferred the property from the city of San Antonio to the state of Texas. The suit also states that the University of Texas at San Antonio and the city of San Antonio have moved forward with the demolition without following the requirements of the Texas Antiquities Code and those of the National Historic Code, Preservation Act. The Conservation Society has been fighting for this building for over a decade. Last year, we successfully had it listed in the National Register of Historic Places and earned the State Antiquities Landmark designation. These designations received the support from national, state, and local level organizations, such as the Society of American Historians, Architectural Historians, Latinos in Heritage Culture and Conservation, Preservation Texas, the Mexican American Civil Rights Institute, the West Side Preservation Alliance, and the Esperanza Peace and Justice Center. This building has huge significance in the city's history, beginning with Hemisphere 68 and continuing as the Institute of Texan Cultures and the Folklife Festival for over half a century. It's the only downtown landmark designed by a Mexican-American architect. While this is a very large building, it's less than 1/5 of the project space for Project Marvel. It can be reused. The building is 180,000 square feet and it's built of steel and concrete. This building is solid. It is intended to be a permanent building, and which is built to be that exactly. And it's a prime location that could be reused for a lot of particular purposes. It could be a culinary school. It could be part of even the Spurs Stadium. There's different things that can happen. We just needed to take that time and make that possible. It's often twice as expensive to build a new building than it is to reuse and renovate what you already have. It's also the greenest building you're ever going to build because it's already there. Demolition is going to add at least 40,000 cubic feet of debris to our landfills. And importantly, what is the rush to tear down this building? The permit from UTSA executives that they have that taken to the ground by this summer. But the concern is, Project Marvel has not had a full vetting. There's not funding in place. The existing Spurs lease at the Frost Bank Center, and whether or not we're going to have adequate state or federal transportation funds. So all this brings to a situation that's, UTSA is rushing to get this done in months, where more likely it will be years before anything needs to be built on that site. And I really hate to think of the idea of we're rushing to take something down to put up a parking lot. That's not what we need to do at this point. So, we believe a pause in the work will provide a much needed chance in the public entities making the decisions that to engage with the taxpayers and that community and find a reasonable path in which this building can be reused. And it can be mutually beneficial in that process. So, now the Conservation Society began in 1924 and was pivotal in the preservation of the San Antonio missions. It started with the restoration of the San Jose Granary, and that was in 1933. The creation of a national park in 1978, and its nomination as a World Heritage Site beginning in 2006. The Society was instrumental in the creation of the Riverwalk and has prevented many sites from being demolished or lost, and also in the preservation of those sites. In addition to the Riverwalk, we've also been instrumental in saving Casa Navarro, the Aztec Theater, Ursuline College, the Rand Building, and the Uturi Edmonds House and Mill. Now, the Society really believes in what we do. We put our money where our mouth is. We offer more than $100,000 of building and educational grants every year. And this is where you get into the neighborhoods, you make that impact. People are able to take care of the properties they have. The Conservation Society has over 1,100 active members engaged in what we do and supporting what we're accomplishing. And it also offers a range of educational resources and benefits to it. So we're here today to get a pause, to stop the demolition before it gets worse, while we still have an opportunity to do something with it. In that same pause, then the city and UTSA can make sure that they've notified the Texas Historical Mission of what they're doing, particularly with Project Marvel, and so that they comply with the requirements of preserving what we do have and giving it the scrutiny and really the opportunity for the citizens to weigh in what's going on. So I appreciate y'all being here today. We have filed the petition at 8 o'clock this morning approximately. And so, the next step is to see how we can get this conversation started and the demolition stopped. Thank you. Do y'all have any questions? Yes, sir.
How do you expect the saving of the ITC building, how do you expect that to fit into Project Marvel?
Well, the preserving the ITC within Project Marvel could be utilized for a number of things in Project itself. I mean, we've always said this would be a marvelous building to be part of it. It could be engaged as part of a Spurs practice arena. It could be a number of elements. And it could also be used, because in entertainment district, there's possibilities there. It's a very large building inside, and so there's a lot of things that have opportunity rather than tearing it down.
Demolition has already started. Some would argue what you're doing now is a little too late. Why do it now?
Well, now they have been doing things internally for the abatement of all of the asbestos. We aren't certain about what the condition actually is, and this is where the court can help us to actually, provide access. Right now, all we do have, you can see, is what we drive by on the street. Now, we do know that structure itself is not falling apart. The fact that it's meant to be here forever. So exactly what has happened, we yet to find out. But it's an important step right now. And that's why we're doing this today. We cannot afford to put it off further, to wait and see what does happen then. Did that answer your question?
Can you speak to the legal mechanism that you think will stop the demolition? Is it mostly the federal Section 106?
Yes, I certainly can. There's two elements that are going on in terms of legally. What we've done today impacts the two individual organizations to stop what we're doing. But equally important is there's federal requirements from the National Historic Preservation Act that when you're working with a situation like this, they are required to hold hearings, to do planning, to see what the impact might be of their projects, such as Project Marble, would do to this historic building. And so they have elements that the city must be doing, and they may not even be aware that they've triggered this legislation and this requirement that they do and take these steps. So that's another good reason to put a pause on what we're doing today.
What's the current state of the building? I know that it's been fenced off for a while, but have they put heavy equipment in place like they're going to demolish it soon?
Well, the question is, what's the current state of the building, and is there machinery ready to start tearing it down? I'll be honest, it's hard for us to tell. We have seen some elements where HVAC systems, internal systems have been removed from the building. I have not seen anything worth that would be able to start destroying the concrete and steel that we have. It's mostly because it's been very secretive, and their only opportunity to observe is to peek through the fence, frankly. So the court can help us understand and see what's going on, and also maybe determine what the cost is to continue its reuse.
If the building, let's say, does get saved through this lawsuit, would you be okay with the fact that, let's say, there is no plan to put something there, and it's just an empty building?
I'll be honest, I would not be okay with it. And the society would not be okay with the concept of taking what we have, clearing it off, and having truly an empty lot or a parking lot for 4 or 5 years.
I mean, what about an empty building instead?
Well, an empty building is the opportunity. One of the things that is available, for like private firms, such as the Spurs, there is a 45% reutilization and tax credit to them. So if somebody has now this empty building and they can see that use, like perhaps as a practice facility, well, then 45% of those costs can be eliminated. So if you have a major project, well, there's a resource right there. And so by having this solid shell in place will facilitate somebody's creative juices to what they can do. And they'll be in a prime location downtown.
Some would argue this is UTSA's building to do what they think they're willing.
If I heard you properly, this is UTSA's building and they get to do what they wish with it. Well, only to an extent. There are obligations from the deed by which UTSA was given this property, and it's that building to be a permanent building, not torn down for some other event or Project Marble. That was a mandate from the state, and so that still exists. And the other part of that, the use of that building is also mandated to be to the benefit of Texans and their enjoyment. So the requirement of who owns that building now is to make use of it for that purpose, but using that building and not some replacement. Yes, sir.
Are you of the opinion that UTSA and other partners are following due legal process in the demolition process or not?
I don't believe they are. And here's why. Because there are some considerations of how this demolition was to have been done. They are demolishing the building without the authorizations. They do have this Texas Historic Commission demolition permit. But where the problem gets into there is based upon agreements and records that the intention is UTSA is going to transfer or sell that to the city of San Antonio. That brings San Antonio as a city into this process. And they have done nothing in terms of legally of what their obligations are. And we also feel that really UTSA is acting as a proxy for the city, because UTSA is enjoying a special provision in the State Historic Preservation Act, which allows them pretty much to do what they want to be doing. The city or anyone else that was working in that building would not have that loophole that says, oh, you can tear it down if you want. But they're tearing it down and then transferring it to the city. That's obviously their plan in Project Marble. So they're serving as an agent, and that's why we assert that they both need to come forward to Texas Historic Commission and discuss what's going on, and then make sure that they comply with the regulations and the requirements from that.
You're asking for a pause and things. How far is the Conservation Society prepared to go with this effort?
We're going to take it a step at a time. It depends upon, one, what is the actual condition of the building? Have they made irreparable harm to it, and what they might do to that? It's important that we are very serious about stopping for now. I don't know that will change its course, but I think we can, with the right kind of time and care and planning and commitment from the community to make this happen. I'd hate to see us have something that we had the opportunity to talk about and learn about, and then say, well, that was 6 months ago, it's too late now.
What do you
Yes, sir.
expect your next steps to be?
Our next steps are to, one, get this stopped, and two, work with the two primary parties and get an agreement that with any memorandum of understanding or agreements that they, the city, and the UTSA put together, or Texas Historical Commission, that the society be part of that. We also, in next steps, want to see that there's no new agreements put in place while this is all being evaluated between the city and UTSA and perhaps other parties regarding this property.
Is it accurate to say that right up near the top of your wishes is that this process become a very public one?
Yes, because the whole point has been the public, our community has not been involved. It's kind of like, well, here's a pretty picture, we built you a plan, but we're not telling you anything, and we're not explaining for the fact that we're tearing down this historic site. Where they're kids. I remember in 1968 in Hemisphere, but there's generations that have been involved in this. The cultural heritage that's associated with it, all that's going to be lost. So yes, I want them to be very much engaged with the community, for them all to know what's going on, and the fact that there is an opportunity to do something different than just tear it down.
Louis,
Yes.
the society didn't wait until now. We've been working on it for years. We've got the National Register designation and the state
Thank you.
antiquity
Yes. Yeah. Betty Bichet, a member of the board of directors, brings out a really good point. This is not a new initiative. This is the culmination in bringing to a head a lot of things. But for years, we've been working on the preservation of this building. We are integral in having it added to the National Register of Historic Places. And that's supposed to afford some protections into itself. And then more importantly, this last fall, it was granted State Antiquities Landmark status. And that is a great deal of effort because of what it requires to qualify for it, but also it has great implications of the importance of this building. And so we've been actually working in this area for over 10 years, actually. A couple of years ago, we had a press announcement and how we're looking to get signatures on a petition. It's got well over 1,200, it could be 2,000 by now, because people continue to embrace the fact that this is an important place to be, and they want to have it saved.
Is it your contention that they are just rushing things through and trying to get the building demolished before any other legal hitches can keep it all from happening, so that they can just go, oh well, too late now?
I believe that is the risk, because there's no reason that I can foresee, if we're going to be talking about using that space for perhaps a new arena or some other element of it, or even reusing it. But that's years down the road in all likelihood. I mean, we're looking at pictures right now of what it might be. But before this year is up, probably before the summer is up, UTSA's plan is to wipe it clean. And there is no advantage of doing that. There's no reason why they can't put a pause to stop demolishing the building and work these processes that I'm asking that they do, that actually they're required to do. And that's what we want to see happen. Because right now, it's a race. Every day that we go by and it continues to be worked on and taken apart, we reach further and further to the point of no return until, they're breaking down the concrete walls. Because that's their intention. What's motivating them to try to get it done in such a short period of time, I don't know. Conversations I've had and others in the organization have had with UTSA really doesn't provide a good reason why it must be done now. Yes.
Devil's advocate, UTSA is going to say that we want to move the ITC downtown where more people will be able to see the cultures of Texas.
Yes.
How do you respond to that?
Well, there's two pieces here. First one is the building, the Texas Pavilion, built to be a permanent structure to the benefit of Texas. The Institute of Texan Cultures is a museum, and that was brought into that place for a home. It has been for many, many years. Now, UTSA has moved that museum collection out of that building. Most of it's in storage. They intend on having a ground level small museum access within the first floor of the Frost Bank Tower and everything else. But their intention is to try to build a new place closer to the Alamo, closer to the center of downtown, so they get more foot traffic for the museum. And there's no issue there, in my opinion, because that was a tenet, if you will. Now we're talking about the structure, and so they're somewhat separated. So we still want to see that Texas, that what I'm saying, that neon sign that we're all used to walking into that building, have that still be preserved and enforced. Yes.
UTSA is actually asking for donations to have the big neon flag moved to the Frost Bank building.
One of our associates and proponents reminded me that UTSA is asking for money to get some grants or donations.
No, from the public.
Oh, from the public. Thank you. All right, so they're asking for give us some money because we want to move that neon Texas flag, the very iconic flag, from inside that building still to the new museum that they're setting up. Okay. Anybody else have some more questions? What I'm really looking for is to have some visibility in this community of what is going on. What is behind that screen? Why are we not having a better conversation about what we can be doing and should be doing?
So I just got a call from Kate that somehow they didn't know that they want to come so that we quickly
Sure.
get people in.
Yes. All right. So I just send these people over?
Yeah. Just say you'll be available later in the day for any.
Well, that's true. All right. Do you have any other questions? Because I'll be available during the day. We also have some Q&As about some of which I've talked through that might be useful for you in developing your stories to better understand our position. And so throughout the day, again, you have my cell phone. It's on top of the contact information on those Q&As. And so I'm very looking forward to really explore this story more and help make it happen. Thank you very much. You've been very helpful, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Do you have a minute?
I certainly do. Good? Thank you.
Maybe just over here on the bench.
Don't anyone
That work for
leave.
you?
Wait.
Oh, yeah. We got a bill filed on that. Yeah. Yes.
I'll give it to you before it's over. I gotta hear from you.
Yeah. You have questions about today?
No, I'd really like a copy of the lawsuit.
Louis, do we have any more copies of the lawsuit?
Pardon me?
Do we have any more copies of the lawsuit?
Ma'am, your question was the best one.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
We didn't wait until now. We've been working on this for years. We actually had to go to Galveston, Texas to a hearing to get the National Register designation. And then we had to go to Austin to get the state antiquities landmark designation.
HB,
Yeah, check. Hey, hey.
5356.
HB.
Lujan, Galveston. It's been referred, not filed, not referred yet. We're still working through all the details, and you understand what that means. But whatever. Well, you know how to do that. But long story short, yes, filed. Oh, you got the rest. Do you have a card, or you need my card, or anything, just in case? I mean, you got his information. That's probably the best way to do it. I'll stay out of it, unless you need something.
Also, what's his name again?
Art Martinez. The president. You know the president. Art's gonna know that. I'm sorry, I don't know all that.
Sorry, what's the president's name again?
I'm trying to stay in front of you is what I'm trying to do. You do you and I'll stay here on this side. That's easier, right?
Give me a picture at the podium. I'll make one.